I'm just a streaming dirtbag baby. Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy. It never ends. Go crazy. I'm just a streaming dirtbag baby. Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy.
Hey guys, Michael J. Crawford, the Anti-Trucker here. Good to see you all on this Sunday evening. Hope that all of you are doing very, very well. And, I saw, yes, Professor Brady Specs. I am going to be hanging out with Mrs. Anti-Trucker in a little bit, so I do actually, I'm not going to make this is not definitely not going to be a marathon stream tonight, because we're going to hang out and just chill for Valentine's Day. Nothing special planned, although, it's out of reach right now, but Miss Centric gave me a t-shirt. Oh, sorry, yeah, I know the microphone's low. I was recording on my breaks earlier, and when I record for videos, I bring it down so it doesn't distort it all. Anyway, so we'll be hanging out later. And you still can't hear me? Because it should be coming through now. Well, I know there's a delay, so give it a minute. Cedric, it should be better now. Okay, Bradley says it's better. Good. Anyway, so yeah, I will be hanging out with Mrs. Anti-Trucker. Not going to be a super long stream, but I just wanted to hang out with you guys a little bit. I mean, this is Sunday night tradition now, and I do care about this. I think that it's important to talk about these issues and be honest and frank about it, especially when it comes to dealing with religion. And one thing I do want to say right off the bat, even though he's not here and he generally doesn't come to my live streams, if anybody happens to talk to Mr. Lundell in the near future, please let him know that I sincerely apologize to him for getting mad at him the other day on Bird of Prey stream. And next time I talk to him, I will, but just let him know that I publicly said that I apologize to him for my behavior. I was definitely not on my best behavior that day. He got a little under my skin because he was basically calling me a liberal because I disagreed with him on some political issues. And I basically told him to, F you without saying F. And so that was uncalled for, and it was wrong for me to do that. And so hopefully he will find it in his heart to forgive me for that. And if anybody talks to him, let him know I said that. I'm not I'm not so proud of myself that I'm above apologizing when I do something wrong. And so I want to say that right off the bat. Also, and this is something that I think is important. I'm not going to, obviously you guys know I don't really care to debate politics very much. I know that sometimes you guys love to egg me on about it. I'm not going to bite into that tonight. But I do want to talk real quick about the Trump acquittal. And so just to let you know that I'm going to be consistent with what I said before as far as the Trump lawsuits. So when Trump was suing the various states because he believed that the election was cheated, I said he absolutely has the right to do this. But then, of course, a lot of people refused to accept the various verdicts. And I said, you know what? We have a legal system for a reason. All right. So now with the impeachment, he was acquitted. People are still arguing about it. The honest truth is, it's over. Okay, he was acquitted. It's done. The end. There's no, that's not fair. He should have been convicted or anything like that. If you have sour grapes about it, you know what? The legal process worked, and he was found not guilty. Period. So that's basically all I'm going to say on the Trump situation. Because quite frankly, I think we get too worked up and obsessed over when we disagree with something, we turn it into a vendetta, basically. And once the process has actually happened, then the process is over. And we all need to learn to get over that. And so, now the title of this live stream, what do we need? I found that interesting that this is something that Corey was talking about at church this weekend. That, you know, there's some stuff in the Bible that some people grossly misinterpret. And one of the things he was talking about is a little verse from the book of Philippians that says, I can do all things with Christ who strengthens me. And a lot of people basically believe that that means that you will be successful from a humanist standpoint in your life as long as you've got Jesus with you. And this is something that is commonly referred to as the prosperity gospel, that if you have enough faith, then God is going to take care of your finances, God is going to take care of your health, God is going to basically bless your life in every way imaginable. The Bible doesn't say that. Now, what it actually means is that you can endure, you can deal with life, you can make it through this life, and you can have peace, and you can have joy, and you can have contentment no matter what you're going through if you have God, because he strengthens you. So it doesn't mean your life ain't going to suck. It means that you are going to have a better attitude about it. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have trouble. It means that you will know how to deal with it. And so, honestly, I think that a lot of people get worked up, and you could see it over these last couple of years. But last year especially is where so many people calling themselves Christians are in an absolute panic and uproar over the fact that Biden got elected. You know what? God is here today. He was here yesterday. He was here the day before that. He's going to be here tomorrow. It's not the end of the world just because Biden was elected. And then there are other people that think it would be the end of the world if Trump had been reelected, and that is not true either. People put way too much into putting their faith in politicians and people and institutions as opposed to just keeping your faith in God. Now, if you're a non-believer, I get it. You're a non-believer, and that doesn't apply to you. But this is mainly just a message to the believers, as far as that's concerned. And Cedric, thank you so much, my friend. Throws $20 in.
Cedric
I don't
Taylor
deserve that, but I truly appreciate it more than I can even say, my friend. And buy the missus something nice. Thank you so much, because you know what? I feel horrible. I did not get her something for Valentine's Day. I felt bad because we've been really tight on the finances lately, and she actually, you know, she didn't give me anything spectacular, but she did give me a T-shirt. It's a long sleeve gold T-shirt with the command insignia. You know, it looks kind of like a Captain Kirk kind of shirt. So I feel horrible because I didn't get her anything. But thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. So I'm going to get into the chat now, but I'm not pontificating forever tonight. That's my whole message. Just, you know, try to relax. It's, you know, the Trump situation is over with. Don't stress.
$20. Buy her something.
And Indy Tiger, holy garbage. I can't believe it. Thank you, my friend. Puts another 20 in. It says buy her something extra nice. You got it, my friend. I absolutely will. Now I got to figure out what to get her, but she will like it. So you guys, man, you have no idea how encouraging that is when some of you guys do that, because there are days when I'm feeling down, and even if someone just puts a buck in here or there, or just a nice comment every now and then, it makes all the difference in the world. The encouragement is overwhelming, especially because I know I get a lot of negativity from people, especially when I have the nerve to, you know, say, hey, we don't have to hate people just because we disagree with them. You know, you don't have to, you know, abandon Disney because because Gina Carano doesn't work there anymore. You know, I get it. It's easy to hate. It's easy to fall for that. I'm not doing it. And that's why I felt bad about what I said to Mr. Lundell, because while I don't hate Mr. Lundell by any stretch, I did let my anger take over, and I shouldn't have, and so that was completely inappropriate for me. Anyway, to the chat, and thanks again, Indy and Cedric. You guys, man, thank you. Multi-Gunman said, well, actually, Bradley was first in the house, then Professor Brainy Specs, who says he was last, but he was actually second. And you know, in Turtistan, number 2 is number 1. Multi-Gunman said, hey, Anti-Checker, how's it going? How you doing? Professor says you should be with Mrs. Anti-Checker. I will in a little bit. Multi-Gunman says, what do you need? We need to end the tyranny that exists in Turtistan. There is no tyranny in Turtistan. That is, as Birdo Prey 5 would say, fake news. There's stuff about the sound. We already got that taken care of. Josh says, down with Anti-Checker, hell to the true God dictator, Bird of Prey 5. Yeah, you know, Josh, we got to get you out of that brainwashing there. Josh says, sound like wind or waves in the background. Yes, that's from the beach behind me. So there's a little sound to it. I have the volume low enough where it shouldn't be too distracting. If it is, let me know. And Alex says, what's the best adaptation of The Devil and Daniel Webster? Don't know. I've heard of it, but I don't know what the best adaptation of that is, because I don't actually know the story. So I'm sorry, Alex, I don't have a good answer for you there. Multi-Gunman says, confirmed, Anti-Checker wants Mr. Lundell to F off. No, I didn't say F off, I said F you. And it was completely inappropriate for me to do that, but sometimes I let my temper get away from me, and I did in that instance. Shalom, how you doing, Robert? Thank you, my friend. Thomas says, what Bird of Prey did today was unforgivable. First, he said no Will Ferrell movie, but he did Austin Powers, which had Will Ferrell. Then he did Crocodile Dundee and was Osseo Prey. Ouch, painful. And one of the rules didn't release. Really? Did it miss one? I'll take a look at my playlist and see what happened. Thank you, Carlo. I will definitely look and see what happened. By the way, just so you guys know, when season 1 of the Trek shorts is over, season 2 will be a little bit different. I basically am changing the format of the videos a little. I'm not doing the YouTube Shorts format for Season 2 because I just feel a little too constrained in the 1 minute or less format. So the Season 2 videos so far are averaging about 2 to 3 minutes. And they'll be in the widescreen format. But I just wanted to, and it's just for fun, so it's all good. And Alexander puts $2 in. Thank you so much, Alexander, my crazy friend up north, and says, Asian Muslim life born in the USSR is the best choice. You nut. Thank you so much, Alexander, and good to see you. Let's see. Beltigomet says, God help us to help ourselves. Indeed. And, that's something that, we need to remember, as those of us that are believers, that, God is not Santa Claus. He's not the Easter Bunny. We need to not be just, we're so quick, especially when we're struggling, to say, oh, God, take care of my money. Oh, God, give me some cash. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do it. Everybody does it. Oh, man, Lord, I don't know how I'm going to pay the mortgage this month. Please help me. That kind of thing. And honestly, that's not how we should be praying to God. Sure, we're supposed to bring our petitions and requests to Him. But we're supposed to do it with an attitude of thanksgiving, not an attitude of begging. Thank you, Lord, for everything you've given me.
Not Ryan Johnson, $20.
And Ryan, thank you.
Niceness.
Or not Ryan. Adding on to the niceness. You are too kind, my friend. So thank you, not Ryan Johnson. And I called you Ryan, and I feel horrible because your name is specifically not Ryan Johnson. And good to see you, my friend. Man, you guys are just too much. I can't believe it. Mrs. Anti-Checker will be blown away if, hopefully she's not watching right now, because then she'll be like, well, how did you get this? Or I'll be like, Anti-Checker, give Mrs. Anti-Checker something special tonight. We're gonna hang out. That's all. She hasn't been feeling well this last week, and so that's been part of the reason I've been a little stressed out, and probably part of the reason that I went off on Mr. Lundell further than I should have. Darth Maul says, my wife got flowered from our sons and me. She gave us the gift of the Koof. I don't know what the Koof is, Darth Maul. Your mileage will vary, but the stuff is weak. I don't know what the gift of the Koof is. Alexander. That is horrible. You'll wait for the disembodied voice to read it for you. Any second now. Any second now. There it is.
Alexandra Pulio Robege, $2 Canadian. Oh God. Give me an RCN Muslim wife born in USSR.
You know, but the thing is, Alexander, why would you ask God for something you've already got? Darth Maul said, oh, COVID. Oh, man, that sucks. She gave you the gift of COVID? That sucks. And I do know, like, some people, they get COVID and it's nothing. Other people, they get it and they're deathly ill. It does vary a lot by the individual. And now Multi-Gun Man says, confirmed, Anti-Checker hates Mr. Landell. It's Londell, and no, I don't hate him. I absolutely do not hate him. We always bump heads, but I don't hate him. And Orville!
$5. Did I miss Father Joe again? Hail, Reverend Mike. Feel better soon, Mrs. Anti-Trekker.
Thank you so much, PJ. I haven't talked to Father Joe today, but apparently he was doing Ozzy O'Prey on his live stream this afternoon for Valentine's Day. So I think he hates everybody. But thank you so much, PJ. Josh says, remember when a hungry animal is chasing you, all you need to do is outrun Bird of Prey 5. That is very true. And you know what's funny? I know a lot of you guys remember that we did that one super chat of where we show that Klingon, that's the special Klingon that's actually Bird of Prey 5. And I never noticed before, but that same guy, Bird of Prey 5, actually I think it's Bird of Prey 4 or possibly Bird of Prey 3, but is evil Captain Kirk's personal guard in Mirror Mirror. I only know because I was working on that episode in between calls today. Steve says, I like that this is for Christians primarily, but all are included in the conversation, honest conversation. There's a lot of stuff being said here that I need to hear. Thanks. Absolutely. You know what? That's why we do the Sunday night live streams. You know, that's one night a week we talk about mostly religious issues, but we'll talk about pretty much anything as the chat goes on. But I always want to, I want to make sure that the honest Christian message is out there somewhere, because you hear so much garbage from quote-unquote Christians, and especially online. So that's one of the reasons that I do this. And so if you get something out of it, awesome. If you hate it, well, don't watch Sunday nights. Robert says, I like what John Schneider said about Biden the other day. He said, Biden isn't my representative. He doesn't represent anything I believe in or stand in. I didn't see that. I'm kind of surprised to hear John Schneider say that, to be honest. But you know what? I honestly, Biden is the president of the United States. And thank you so much, Alexander.
Alexandra Pulio Robege, $2 Canadian. Everybody want MCU Aunt May and Ked now? Right now.
No, I know you do, Alexander. That's what you still got to work on, my friend. Maybe it's getting lost in the translation. You should say, I want MCU Aunt May naked now. Not everybody wants MCU Aunt May naked, because there are actually people out there that don't want MCU Aunt May naked. But thank you anyway, Alexander, and I truly appreciate it. But I do want to address that real quick, Robert. I think that while you can disagree with Biden, and there are plenty of things, believe me, there are plenty of things that I disagree with Biden on. However, he is still the president of the United States. As a Christian, I will tell you, and I don't know if you're a Christian, Robert, because, I don't keep a census of what everybody believes, but I will tell you this straight up. If you are a Christian, it is absolutely your duty to pray for Biden. And that doesn't mean, oh, Lord, please help Biden do what I want him to do. Please convince him that he's wrong. No, you need to straight up pray for his success. You need to straight up pray for his leadership. Pray that he is strong, that he is able to do his job successfully. You want him to be the best president ever, because he is the president of the United States. And believe me, I would love to sit there and say I hate Biden, because I disagree with him on almost every political issue. But it doesn't change the fact that he's president of the United States. And as a Christian, I am called to pray for that man. And remember, you are especially called to pray for and love those that hate you. That's the hardest thing in the world for us to do. And I'm actually starting a video series on that kind of stuff. So you're going to start seeing it on, I'm going to do just in the YouTube Shorts format. There'll be, 60-second videos that will come out every Sunday. And it'll deal with religious topics. But that's anyway, that's just I think something that will be good if you're into that. And Thomas, thank you so much. Has a ship quiz. Well, let me go. I'm assuming did you send it to me on Twitter or on Skype? I'm guessing
Something
Twitter because I don't see anything on Skype.
Ship quiz.
And
Alexandra Julio Robege, $2 You should pray for Maria Ozawa. She's talented.
And I don't see it, Thomas, unless, is it the one you sent me the other day? And so let me know, Thomas. Send me a message. I have Skype up, so let me know there if that's the one you want me to use. And while I'm waiting for that, let me see, where was I? Sorry, the chat jumped on me because I'm too far behind. Okay, here we go. How would you write a Dominion Wars centric episode of TNG? That's a tough one, because TNG actually ended before the Dominion War. I really think that it would be tough, because I don't think Picard would be that kind of a captain. I don't see Picard as a warrior captain per se. I could see Riker kicking some butt during the Dominion War. But honestly, I don't see that as a Picard thing. What I would, yeah, it would be tough, but I don't know. Super Blogger says people use God as a crutch. Some people do. More than that, they use God as an excuse. And it's funny, because it's one of my favorite lines from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. We all create God in our own image. And that's something we tend to do. And a lot of Christians do this. Well, they'll pick and choose stuff from the Bible that they agree with and ignore stuff that contradicts their beliefs. And honestly, that's the last thing that people should be doing. And that's one of the reasons that our church does what's called expository teaching, where we do entire books of the Bible. We do not skip around. We don't jump and pull a verse here and pull a verse there. We show everything in its proper context. And so it really makes a big difference to some, in some cases. And Bradley says you have Admiral Doom's Rule of Life number 18 privated. Let me take a look real quick, because it's. Let me just go to YouTube Studio, and then we're going to do the ship quiz in just a second. And go to content. Rule of Life number 18. It's a couple pages down, because the last one I have ready to go is like number 80. So let's go down to 19 is public. 17. Oh, that's weird.
Alexandra Julio Robege, $2. I would see Data kicking Dominion SS.
You see Data kicking some Dominion butt? I don't know. Data, I mean, I could see Data. That's weird. It's like, it shows that it's scheduled. You know what happened? Today, it was, for some reason, instead of being scheduled for February 11th, it was scheduled for March 11th. So I'm making it public right. Well, let me go back out of this screen. And we're going to make make it public in just a second here. And public. Done. All right, it is public as of this very moment. So thank you for pointing that out. All right, back to it, and let's see. Alexander says, have you or anyone you personally known ever had a demonic encounter? You know, that's an interesting question, because I personally have not. But yes, I do know someone that says they have. I was not there for it, so I cannot testify to it directly. But, you know, I'm going to take them at their word, because the person I'm talking about, I don't think is a liar. Josh says, Alexander wants to build a harem of Asian Muslim wives. Oh, that's what it is. So he wants a bunch of them. That's crazy. And Lancer says, Alexander doesn't speak for me. Well, of course, Alexander only speaks for... Yeah, oh, when you say everybody. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I don't particularly want Aunt May naked, but he does. And Darren says, wrong! Christians should not be praying for Biden's success. They should be praying that he plays his part in his plan. Well, I do think that we are to pray for the success of others. And just agree to disagree on that. But, yes, ultimately... And by the way, every prayer should finish with your will be done. You know, every single prayer, like no matter what we're petitioning God for, we need to make sure the caveat in there is only if it is God's will. Because you know what, and this is something that Corey actually mentioned. Sometimes we may want God to help us because we're struggling with our finances, but God knows full well that if we had a lot of money, we would do some horrible things. And so that's why he's not going to help us out there. And Thomas says, yes, yeah, I do. Oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me. I have it queued up. So let me see. Let me move OBS so that I can hopefully I do this right. All right, so you ready? So it's going to be the first person. I'll get back to the chat in just a minute, but the first person that names the proper name of what you're about to see. So you got to give me the proper name of this ship. And I'm not praying for porn there, Alexander. Crazy man. So the first person, they can pick a super chat if they so choose. So and if you don't want a super chat, well, you just get bragging rights. So going to the screen now. All right. So first person to name that starship. And there's Alex.
Alexandra Pulio Robege, $2 Canadian. You should pray for Yuhi Hatano's success in PRN.
And now I don't know the spelling. Now, Carl, you're technically correct, but Trent I know is correct. But Facerius, I always thought it was with a P, like Indy spelt it. Now, I'll tell you what, since Thomas is the official judge, Thomas, who got closest to the spelling? We got Darren, Trent, and Indy. So who is closest to the proper spelling? Although I'd say not Darren because it looks like he thought it was Facerius. And it is the First Federation for sure. And so now waiting to hear back from Thomas. And we'll move this back and we'll get this back. So, and Professor says it is Facerius. I'll take your word for it unless Thomas contradicts you. So that means that it was Trent that got it right. Congratulations, Trent. So if you want a super chat reward, you can absolutely pick one. The super chats number from 1 through 29. So, and it does begin with an F. Thank you. So Trent, give me a number between 1 and 29, and we will all enjoy that together. And until you do, I'm going to read a couple more chats. Robert says, yes, I'm a believer, although I'm not a run-of-the-mill Christian anymore. I'm a Messianic Hebrew roots believer. I'm not sure exactly how you would define that, but interesting. And no, it is definitely, by the way, and Trent says number 12. You got it, just a second. Alex, it is not a gaudy Death Star ripoff. The Death Star is a gaudy Fesarius ripoff because the Fesarius came out a decade before the Death Star. So suck on that, buddy. Just being a jerk there about it. All right, so number 12. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Super chat.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Lore Reloaded. I
Oh,
am
it's like playing a bunch of
Lore
stuff.
Reloaded, wondrous
That's
host.
not good. Oh, hold on. Let me go back because it's on the mega
Let's
chat.
get lost.
Turn that off because we don't want to hurt everybody's brain.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Lore Reloaded. I am the Lore Reloaded, your wondrous host.
You're so bad that when you come on screen, people don't drink. They punch themselves in the dick for 5 straight minutes.
There we go. So thank you, Trent. So a lot of people did not realize that Lore Reloaded had an encounter with Deadpool. All right, back to the chat. Robert says, good YouTube channel about the Masonic faith is Parable of the Vineyard. I like his teachings, although he does believe in flat earth. Check him out if you want to. Hey, you know what? Flat earth, I have friends that believe in flat earth. I may not agree with them, but hey, you know what? It's not like, hey, I think you're a bad person if you believe something I don't. But I will check it out. So I see Parable of the Vineyard. So I will check him out, see what they're all about. And Carlos says, thanks, I like to get a rule in the mornings. Not sure what you mean by that. Steve says, please talk about American contrast Captain Kirk, all canon, and Commander Adama, BSG new. Both are interesting characters I like watching. Wow, that'd be a tough one. Alexander wants me to pray for Conan because war, wine, and women. Well, first of all, Conan is a fictional character, but and yes, Darren, more than one, not just you. I do have at least one other friend that does believe in a flat earth. Although not as fervently as you do. Just meaning that he doesn't like to pick fights about it.
Alexandra Pulio Robage, $2 You should pray for Conan. War, wine, women.
So, Kirk versus Adama as far as characters are concerned, I would say that Kirk is a more classical hero. Kirk doesn't have as many flaws as Adama, but that's also the writing is much more nuanced on BSG than in Trek. For Kirk, his number one priority is his ship. His ship and his crew are the most important things in his life. He will give up personal happiness because he loves his ship that much and has done so multiple times. Whereas Adama, honestly, he loves his career. He loves being in the military, but he doesn't feel that kind of an attachment with the Galactica herself that Kirk feels with the Enterprise. And so Adama is more about personal relationships. Like, Adama is loyal to Ty, despite the fact that he knows that Ty is a mess, right? If Spock were Colonel Ty, Kirk would have, gotten rid of him. He wasn't going to put up with a inferior first officer. So with Adama, it's more about his relationships with people. With Kirk, it's about command. So that's I think the big difference between the two. However, both are great characters. Let's see. And it was Commander and Admiral Adama because he was promoted midway through the show. I testified to surviving a really, really bad haunting. Very interesting. I personally have not experienced anything quite like that. So, and, quite frankly, I don't want to. So I'm perfectly good with that. And
Alexander
Alexander.
Robage, $2 Tonto is a classical hero. He has a pure heart.
I don't. You know what? I honestly don't know enough about Tonto to comment on that. I never cared for the Lone Ranger that much. I've seen a few Lone Ranger shorts and stuff, but I never really cared about Lone Ranger. So, never been my thing. I really never got into westerns much. There's only a couple of westerns I really dig. And Thomas says, no, Antrick, you must end your prayer with a woman. No, definitely not. Does the Democrats' abortion agenda align with Christian values? No, and we probably shouldn't be praying for their success. We are supposed to be loving and helping people regardless of whether we agree with them. And Darth Maul puts a link to the Admiral Doom video. Thank you, my friend. Super Blarpus says, guess you've never been to a casino to see people praying over the slot machines. Oh, I know people do it. It's just wrong. Monty's Folly says, hey, Anti-Tracker, sorry I didn't get a chance to stop by the streams much lately, but it was nice talking to you the other night on Birdstream. Absolutely, Monty, and you're welcome anytime. And so, hey, you know what? We don't take roll here. Sometimes people have important things they got to deal with. Sometimes people have unimportant things they got to deal with. It just, you know, we all have lives, right? Well, I don't, but most of you do, I hope. Professor Brainy Spec says the proper spelling is Fesarius. And Thomas says it begins with F because that was going back to when we were doing the Fesarius thing. Lancer says, back to fiction. I could see Data not having trouble with most species in the Dominion that fight hand-to-hand, or he could fight in hand-to-hand, not physics, Founder, or Bree. Well, as far as that kind of thing, on a one-on-one, sure, Data is I mean, he's basically, you know, super powered. So at that level, sure. But would Data be, you know, with the Enterprise D, since that's what Picard was in at the... well, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because, no, it's the Enterprise E. But the Enterprise E versus Dominion ships, you know, I think that would be an interesting contest, but we've never seen it.
Alexandra Pulio Robege, $2 You should pray for the success of the mission.
How can I pray for the success of a mission and I don't even know what the mission parameters are? I don't even know what the mission is. The Death Star is just a gaudy knockoff of Mimas, the moon of Saturn. Well, there's that too, true. Yeah. TOS biblical reference of the day. In his hand are the deep places of earth. Psalm 95, verse 4. That's from the Empath. You know, it's interesting, Richie, because TOS makes a lot of biblical references. Some of them subtle, some of them gross, right? And I took a little shot at a old friend in one of the Who Mourns for Adonais, because I just did the review for that one that'll be posting towards the end of this month. And so in that episode, spoiler alert, you know, close your ears for a minute if you don't want to hear what's going to be in that video, at least one part of it, is I mentioned that Kirk in this episode not only postulates the possibility that Apollo is indeed Apollo, that the Greco-Roman gods were actually a race of aliens that actually did visit Earth 5,000 years ago. And also tells Apollo to his face that we don't need gods because we have the one God. And Chris Cook with $1.50. Thank you, my friend.
Chris Cook, $1.49.
And it looks like we got, is that a yo-yo? Am I a yo-yo to you, Chris? That's all good, my friend. Thank you. And so in that episode, Kirk, so he goes, you know, he says, well, this guy really is Apollo, and he believes in the one God. And so I said, yeah, so this one episode not only legitimizes his belief in the Judeo-Christian God, but also the Greek gods were real as well. And I said, but we all know Star Trek has always been purely secular, and I like flash up a picture of Steve Shives. So anyway, Alex says, dear Trek, the Death Star is from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, meaning that it predates everything from Trek. So eat it with a fork and a knife. So eat it with a fork and knife. What? So? Oh, because you're trying to say because the setting. Yeah, but Star Wars came out after Trek, but not sure what your point there is. Conan is not fiction. I just saw an interview, people on his talk show. That's a different Conan. I don't think that Conan says war, wine, women. Who would win in a fight between the Jem'Hadar and Stormtroopers? Oh, the Jem'Hadar in a hot second. Ship to ship, there's no contest. The Jem'Hadar would completely destroy anything the Empire could throw at them. And hand to hand, I mean, come on. Angry teddy bears could beat the Stormtroopers. I don't think the Ewoks would do well against the Jem'Hadar. And Darren says, speaking of Alexander and Conan, I did pre-order a Conan trade paperback, Into the Crucible. How is Astonishing X-Men? I like it so far. I'm actually going to... I may do a review of it, just kind of, thinking about if he was actually going to consider doing an X-Men film. Because I agree with you. I think he would be good for that. Good point, Austin. The BSG writing that Dama had to make a lot of edgy decisions ethics-wise. Yes, he did. He was in a tough situation, and that's I think that show was really about survival, and that's something that I think really was nice to see. That is and that's why Ronald D. Moore, he was he started on TNG. He was there for most of DS9, and then he went to Voyager and he quit almost immediately. And he quit because, they wouldn't let him do the storytelling he wanted to do. And so what did he do? He made his own version of Voyager. It's called Battlestar Galactica. That's how he kind of pictured Voyager as being. And holy crap, would that have been an awesome show. But, they wouldn't let him do it. Because you think about it, Galactica, especially his vision of Galactica. Because remember, in the original Galactica, Adama was pretty much the god king of everybody, right? So he was perfect in every way. He never made mistakes, and he was in charge of everything. And what they did was, in this one, they had the president and Adama always at odds. And this is kind of how he envisioned the relationship of Chakotay and Janeway. And unfortunately, we just got Chakotay and Janeway like holding hands and singing Kumbaya all the time, which was boring. How about Kirk versus the original Adama? Well, the original Adama is definitely a product of his time. Original Adama is really almost to the Mary Sue category of perfection. Kirk at least had flaws. Adama never did anything wrong. I mean, just never. Kirk made some serious mistakes in his career. So I think the Adama from the remake is better than Adama from the original, as far as Galactica. And Lancer says, if Spock was like Ty, Kirk would get rid of him. Great. Now I can't stop thinking of a drunken Spock with an eye patch picking fights over strippers. That would be hilarious. Life with Matthews escaped from his house prison, according to his wife, Guard, and he believes to be heading for Bird of Prey 5's house. Uh-oh, that's not good. And Darren says, A woman is nonsense on that, Darren. We wholeheartedly agree. Carlo says, I find that I can help others more than myself, so I pray for others and not myself. I'm not here for myself. I'm supposed to support others, or at least that's how I feel. Well, I'll tell you, Carlo, you kind of touch on something that a pastor friend of mine from Oregon referred to as the Hidden Commandment, and I really like the way he talked about this, is that Christ mentions the greatest commandment, which is to love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Those two things together are the greatest commandment, and that all the law and the prophets are based on this. And the idea is that basically everything in the Bible should guide you to do those two things, to love God and to love your fellow man. But the hidden commandment in there is that in order to love your neighbor as you love yourself, you have to love yourself. And so while you should be, and even Christ says this, and it's absolutely true, you should be putting yourself last. I mean, it's kind of fun. I joked about this before, but Professor Brainy Speck's always saying last. Christ himself said, if you want to be first in heaven, you need to be last on earth, right? So you should put your priority at the very bottom. But that being said, it doesn't mean that you don't want God to take care of you, right? It doesn't mean that you just don't say, God, I don't need you. No. You want to make sure that you are praying praying for guidance. You should pray for wisdom. You should pray for knowledge. You should pray for direction, right? But what you shouldn't be praying for is that new car you want or that winning lottery ticket, And I do think God has a sense of humor, so sometimes I say, but you know what, God? If you want to throw a winning lottery ticket my way, I certainly won't complain. So, and there's Chris Cook's sticker with the yo-yo. Thank you, my friend. Alex says, what's your favorite Gemma Haddark centric episode of DS9? Mine is Hippocratic Oath. I think it's actually the Gem Hadar, their introduction. I love that. I think it's too bad that they kind of downplayed the Vorta after that, as far as they don't have the psionic powers anymore and stuff. And but I liked the fact that they were scary as F in that. And I love Quark in that episode. That was like my favorite Quark episode. Jay-Z says, sounds like a good video. Looking forward to it. I'm glad. I'm actually really liking the way that season 2 is coming out. It will definitely be different than season 1, but I think in a good way. Same basic format, still is the same music. Although I did make a looping version of the music so I can adjust the length to whatever so I can just talk for what I still keep it minimalist. I don't want them to be long reviews because then they take too long to produce. And the whole idea is to be able to build a catalog of release stuff ahead of time so that I can focus in on the longer form videos. Which actually I know someone asked about the Hulk review. That is one of the reasons that I'm doing this. And it'll make more sense once we get to like springtime. Because by the time we get to spring, I will have the entire original series and probably the first few seasons of TNG in the can, as it were. But you won't see them because it's only going to release one episode a day. So, like, even right now, like if I just walked out of the room and never looked at YouTube again, there would still be new Admiral of Doom videos for the next few months because I actually have them all recorded, uploaded, and scheduled for release. And I'm working on doing that with the Star Trek videos as well. And so right now I'm with the Star Trek videos, I'm right up to the beginning of March. And so I'm trying to get, once I'm a couple of months ahead, then I can put that aside, spend all my time on doing like the Hulk review, making it good, making it polished. I can take a couple of weeks to do that, put it together into a long format video, break it into a couple of chunks, release it first to the patrons and stuff, and then to the general public. And then once that's released, I go back to do a couple more seasons of Star Trek, push that out a couple more months, then start my next long form video. That's how I'm going to be doing it for 2021. I'm going to see how that works. So we'll see. Let's see. Thomas says, so Star Trek supports the ancient aliens theory. Apparently, yes. Trust says, evening entry, I missed much. Again, no notification. YouTube is just the best. Don't get me started about YouTube. And Mercer says, how do I edit the
ISP when I use a play on clip?
How do you edit the ISP when I use a play on clip? Oh, you mean like, okay, so you can bring it into any video editor and you just trim off the beginning and the end. Where what I personally, and Mercer, I'd recommend this because, especially if you don't want to spend a bunch of money, because I certainly don't. DaVinci Resolve is a fully functional video editor that is 100% free. So what you can do, and I'll tell you what, Mercer, since tomorrow I work, but I'll be off on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. So during that time, I will put up a tutorial video on how to do that specifically in DaVinci Resolve, so that you can see how to do it. But it is 100% free. There's also, and this is something, if you just want to have the full video and you don't care about editing the video, you just want to get rid of the beginning and the end, there is actually a series of batch files that Life with Matthew uses that I don't know exactly how it works, but once you bring the play on video into the directory, you run this batch file and it trims off the very beginning and the very end automatically. That's what he does. But I try, he walked me through setting it up on my computer. For some reason, it wouldn't work on my computer. Couldn't figure out why. But I edit stuff in DaVinci Resolve anyway, so I'm perfectly okay with that. Let's see. In the original, Adama had Ben Cartwright all-time classic. Because of Lauren Green. I do love Lauren Green. He's a great actor, or was. But I like the writing of the reboot a lot more. Just being honest. And Alex says, what is your favorite film about demonic possession? That's an interesting one. There's a lot of interesting films about it. And
Mercer create $2. You rocked high. I also bought Adobe Premiere Pro.
Yeah, if you have Premiere Pro, I used Premiere Pro before I got DaVinci Resolve. It's just that I prefer DaVinci now because I think it's a little less buggy than Premiere, but that's just my take on it. However, you simply import the file into your timeline, and then, trim off the first few seconds, trim off the last few seconds, call it a day, render it out. Anyway, favorite film about demonic possession. There's a lot of interesting ones, a lot of good ones. And today, because it just depends on my mood, but today I'm going to go with The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I thought that was a very interesting one. It's a based on a true story movie, but the interesting thing is that they show it from the perspective of both the religious viewpoint, that this was a genuine demonic possession, and a secular viewpoint, that this was just a girl with a mental condition. And it's centered around a trial that was, apparently this is a real case, where a priest was put on trial for criminal negligence because this girl died after an attempted exorcism. And one of the questions one of the problems was that the priest suggested that she stop taking her medication because her medication was preventing the exorcism from working. And then they're saying that her suddenly stopping taking the medication caused her to have some severe reactions, and she ended up dying. And so as the different people are testifying, we get flashbacks to the actual events, but we get flashbacks based on the testimony. So sometimes the flashbacks are as if it was a genuine demonic possession, and sometimes the flashbacks are as if it's just a girl that has seizures. And so I thought it was really interesting the way that they did that. And so, Ben Cartwright versus the original Adama. Well, since I didn't watch Bonanza, I can't give an honest opinion on that.
Create $5. Just want to pitch in. Looking forward to seeing your tutorial when you get the chance. But I wanted to extend my thanks.
Well, thank you, Mercer, and that's very kind of you, my friend. You know what? I love you, man, and yeah, all I can say is thank you. Anytime, if I can do a little thing like that and it helps you out, awesome. And I do like DaVinci, but mainly because it is 100% free, and I am a cheap guy. And Dynastic Xerxes Fuzzy says Ben Cartwright versus. Oh, I already read that, but yeah, I can't do a fair comparison because I didn't watch Bonanza. I may love myself, but I don't pray for yourself. Well, you should. And in fact, think about this, Carlo. The Lord's Prayer is meant to be the template for how we pray. And, it's Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So we start out by, basically acknowledging who we're talking to here, right? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. We're talking about, okay, God, your will is king. Your will is ultimately what I want, right? On earth as it is in heaven. We know that everything in heaven is the way God wants it. What we want is everything on earth the way he wants it, right? Give us this day our daily bread. That is vital. We should be asking God to take care of us, right? Forgive us our trespasses. We should be asking God to forgive our sins. As we forgive those who trespass against us, we are also obligated to forgive without question. Some people, there are Christians out there that say, I'll forgive them when they ask me to. No, we're supposed to forgive them regardless. All right? So forgive us our trespasses, and we forgive those who trespass against us. And by the way, if you accept that Christ died for us and that we are forgiven, how, and Christ even taught a dozen parables on this, then we should absolutely be looking at the person who might have screwed us over and forgiving them, because what we got was a whole lot better than someone who lied about you or, got that promotion ahead of you, or the person you didn't want was elected. You know what? I'm more interested in what happens after this life than I am worried about that promotion. Right? And so, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. That's also, obviously we should be asking God for his guidance and to prevent us from straying in the wrong direction. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. That's how we are called to pray. That is from the mouth of Jesus himself. And so that is a prayer where we're asking God to guide us, because we can't very well help others if we're not being guided by God. And it's fine, like when you know of somebody, and I keep a prayer list that I actually have on my computer, and I go over it every single day. People that have told me online that, hey, I've got this going on in my life, put it in the prayer list, and I absolutely do that. I petition God about everything. And as a general rule, not just me, but me and Mrs. Antitrekker pray for all of you in a general thing every time we pray together. Me and Mrs. Antitrekker pray together every single day. And when we do, we are always praying for all of you. I always, my YouTube subscribers and supporters, because it's a messed up world out there. And I don't want bad things to happen to you. So I absolutely, but when somebody tells me something specific, I add that to my personal list of things that I want to focus in on. So while I agree that we should be praying for others, we are also called to pray for ourselves. Carl said, I would pray for a place to live, but I believe that it will come with a hard work, sacrifice, and willpower against temptations. But you know what, Carlo? You should still be praying for it. And that's something that I think people forget about. God is not Santa Claus. Just because you say, oh, Lord, I really want to have a home, right? I want to have a house or something. That doesn't mean that, okay, I'm just going to kick back now until God gives me the money to get a house. Or them super chats. That's not how it works, right? It means that what we want is for God to direct our steps, for God to guide us so that we do the correct things to get to where we ultimately want to get. But we also need to be working within the will of God. Let's see. Fuzzy says, who would win in a fight, Jedi Master Anakin Skywalker or the Sith Lord Obi-Wan? I would probably have to go with a true Jedi Master. Anakin would probably have the advantage because he's just stronger with the Force. Obi-Wan barely beat him, and it was really because Anakin was reckless. And a Jedi Master Anakin would not be reckless. Carlo says, I like the shorts the way they are. Well, I appreciate that, Carlo. The extended format, don't worry, it's not a major drastic change, except there's like a little 30-second intro. But honestly, it's not a big change. I'm still about the same amount of snarkiness. But I just was too many times where it was like, oh man, I really wanted to get 1-2 more points in, and I couldn't. So I just gave myself a little bit of flexibility. They're still going to be very brief. The longest one of them is like 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Have you ever considered riffing The Exorcist 2? Yes, the insane African locust one with James Earl Jones. I have not, because I didn't enjoy the film. And I love bad movies, but I love bad movies that are just so, it's not that the movie was incompetently made, it just didn't like it. If that makes sense. Steve says, do you have a favorite episode of character from Little House on the Prairie or Bonanza? How about Twilight Zone? Thanks. Favorite character, boy, Little House on the Prairie, I watched that a lot when I was a kid. And, I'll tell you that I really liked Michael Landon's Pa Ingalls. I can't even remember what the character's name was. Everybody calls him Pa, right? And but I loved his character. He was such a great example of a strong man who was also a good man. And that's something that's so rare. Even, It really is. It's just something we don't see very often. A man who is strong, but not strong because he's a badass. He's strong because he stands for his family, and he will sacrifice to take care of his family. And, you know, unfortunately, now in the modern age, it's like every guy's a bumbling fool. And so, yeah. Speaking of Matthew, would you like to be a judge in his trial? No idea when, because he keeps getting articles of impeachment. We have 201. Wow, 201. I would. Yes, I will. I will serve. If you're gonna have a tribunal, I think we should definitely do that. Captain Trex in the house says hello. How you doing, Captain? Robert says, if we go by Jason Goes to Hell, well then all this time he's just been a body possessed by a demon. Well, that's but you know, we're talking about Friday the 13th is kind of crap. Have you ever watched the movie Saved? Pro-life themes, real funny look at Christians' behavior, not mocking faith. Overall, pretty good movies, funny with serious themes. I have not. What's your biggest temptations? Wow, Carlo. I'm not going to really get into that too deep, but I will say that I struggle sometimes with envy. That's something that I do have to deal with a lot. Because sometimes I look around at people's success, and I'm genuinely happy for them, but it can be difficult sometimes. You start thinking, man, you know, why can't I get a break? I struggle with contentment. That's something that a lot of people do, especially these days, and it's difficult. It truly is. But I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. But, I'm not going to get into all my dirty laundry online, though. Why, hello, stranger! Hey, Darth Revan, hope you are doing close to normal or human. Dear Andrew, what's your favorite time travel episode of Deep Space Nine? Trials and Tribulations. Is there anything about TNG you feel is better than TOS remastered? Anything about TNG that I feel is better than TOS specifically? Well, as far as a series, I think that they did a better job in feeling like a more consistent universe with some of the reoccurring villains and stuff. You know, for example, Q popping in every now and then, the Borg popping in every now and then. It felt more like a complete universe, and it also felt like there was more of a overall arc to the show, even though it still was completely episodic, but you did get a feeling of time progressing through the seasons, where in the original series it just felt like every episode was a self-contained adventure that had nothing to do with the others, with just a couple of exceptions. Robert says, also, Jason Goes to Hell, the necromancers are responsible for Jason Voorhees. I saw Jason Goes to Hell in theaters, but I don't really remember it that well. Pray the will of the Lord be done. Amen. Absolutely. And Darth says, all I want, my friend, to have a healthy pregnancy and to be free from lockdown. Ireland's one of the strictest in Europe. Well, I hope your friend does have a healthy pregnancy indeed. And hopefully we'll all be free of the lockdown soon. Well, in America, man, so many people in America that just say, I ain't wearing a mask because it's bad. Doesn't do any good. All right, whatever. And hello, Ed Trekker, how are you today? Who would win in a fight? Next Generation crew, the entire crew, add Kirk. Let's see, the entire crew, add Kirk, Archer, and Cisco in there for good measure versus Doctor Strange. Well, that's kind of an unfair fight because Doctor Strange is a master of the mystic arts. And so he could probably open a portal and send the Enterprise to the other side of the galaxy. Or put them all in the, what's the name of that weird alternate dimension where you can't affect the real world. I can't remember what they called it, but yeah. I think Doctor Strange wins, hands down. I'll confess, your short TikTok-style Star Trek videos aren't for me. I know that, Darren. You've talked to me about it before. It's all good. Charles, thank you. Charles Ingalls. Thank you, Professor. Man, I can't believe I spaced that. But yes, I love Charles Ingalls. Any other bits of software used for creation of YouTube videos? Well, DaVinci is the main one I use. I use PlayOn for capturing video clips and stuff. But I also it's not software, but I have a subscription to Epidemic Sound. That's where I get my music from. And I highly recommend DaVinci because it is completely free. And basically, even like if you look at the videos, those incredible videos that Mr. Miles edited for me back in the day, that was entirely done in DaVinci Resolve. Entirely. So I do use GIMP for still image modification. That's just a free version of Photoshop. It's a Photoshop clone, basically. It's all right. It's not. I like Photoshop better, but Photoshop is too dang expensive. Let's see. Bird Prey Antitrag was talking about demon possession. Oh, hey, Bird Prey, how you doing? Moxley fan is in the house. Says hello. How you doing, Moxley? Hope you are doing well, my friend. Darren says, what's your most embarrassing perverted temptation, and what happened when you gave into said temptation? Well, there was this flat earther I knew, and he doesn't realize it, but I put a strain of virus into his beard that will slowly disintegrate his chin and then eventually melt his face off. It takes years for it to even show noticeable symptoms, and I did it 8 months ago, so he'll be feeling the symptoms, probably about 2022, 2023, and it's just going to be hilarious when his jaw falls off, hopefully during a live stream. Dear Andy Drucker, have you seen Peter Jackson's reaction to Lost Spider Pit sequence from King Kong 1933? It's right here on YouTube. I have not. So are you getting HBO Max or wait for Blu-ray of Justice League? Well, I have HBO Max, but it's a plug-in to Hulu, and it doesn't seem to work for their exclusive movies because I couldn't watch Wonder Woman 1984 on it for some reason, even though I had it. So, but I will switch it for the. I'm going to switch it before Justice League because I'm going to be switching it for Godzilla. What do you think of the Federation expanding to the Delta Quadrant and its open territory of an Intrepid that do much? Let's see. Expanded the Delta Quadrant, its open territory. If an Intrepid do that much, imagine an Odyssey or successors. I don't know. I honestly, I didn't find Voyager a particularly compelling series. I just want them to do decent Trek. That's Darth. That's all I want. What do you think about Constantine? Well, the Keanu Reeves movie, which was horribly inaccurate if you care about the source material, I thought was a lot of fun. And so I actually liked it. I do have some Hellblazer comics, but I don't particularly care for the comics. Just not my cup of tea. And in fact, I'll be honest, Doctor Strange is not a character I really cared about in the comics either, but I love him on screen. And so that's pretty much it. I wish I had the Infinity Gauntlet. Life would be so much better. I would be with Jessica. We'd be going to Comic-Con doing cosplay. Well, I'm glad you don't, because if anybody had the Infinity Gauntlet, horrible things would happen. And Mercer says thanks. Is that what happened to your chin? No. My chin is, I just suffer from a crappy chin. What Ham had a pathetic response to my temptation question. You should make sure if your chides are funny ahead of time. That'd be great. Sure. There's small continuity. There are small continuities in Trust, like with Sulu was into fencing in the Naked Time, and later Kirk sends him to secure engineering Day of the Dove, and they're left with only swords. Well, I'm not saying they don't do things that show some continuity. Absolutely, but they also, but it just doesn't feel like really it's not a continuing story in any way. Right. There are episodes where they actually make reference to things that have happened in other episodes. It's just that it feels like the writer was just trying to show, yeah, we have continuity because we remember when that happened. Let's see. Do you think the 70s Kong film would have been slightly improved if they could have afforded to not only do better effects but more creatures? Honestly, the 70s Kong film, I think suffered from the era that it was made. I mean, one thing that's amazing about that film is they actually made a life-size animatronic Kong. The problem is that a life-size animatronic Kong looks completely and utterly fake. And so, but that is an incredibly impressive piece of technical achievement. But it's not that they couldn't afford better effects, it's that the effects were limited by the era. They could either do a guy in a suit or animatronics. That's really all that existed back then. And animatronics in the 70s were a far cry than what they are today. So I think that, Kong was, something that shouldn't have been attempted until the age of CG. Like the Kong Godzilla film trailers look so good. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Darren says, I prefer a home port mission-based Star Trek series like the Four Seas of Enterprise. I would be down for that. Or even like you could do, call like Star Trek Sector 17 or something, and you just have like a star base in a sector of Federation space, and it follows ships coming in and out, and these different ships go on different adventures. It could almost be like an anthology show, like if you had like 3 or 4 different ships, and each week you might spend 5 minutes on one ship and the rest of the episode on another, and 5 minutes on the other ship, just to kind of show you, they're still out there. And you would rotate between the different ships in different episodes, and then eventually like you'd have some kind of big confrontation that would involve everybody. I think that would be cool. It says, also, if I had the Infinity Gauntlet, way more girls would be like Jessica. See, that's the problem, Daniel. You're being, I love you, man, but you got to get that out of your head. And that's like we were talking about. You want to, especially as a Christian, you want to put yourself last, and we all tend to do the opposite. Movie Children of the Corn was pretty scary as a kid. I remember it being a good scary flick. I've never actually seen that one. I tell you something with my Mandalorian review, man. I keep getting hit with different strikes. Some of them for the dumbest things. One was for faint music behind Mando and Gina taking 2 weeks. Got it sorted. Yeah, that's a big problem with YouTube, because YouTube does not care about independent content creators. They just don't. And so if you have 10 million subs, they'll protect you. If you have 100 subs, 1,000 subs, 10,000 subs, they don't give a crap about you. That's what I forgot to do today. I forgot to buy the Friday the 13th collection. You'll be all right, I promise. Darren says, the best thing about the 77 Kong film was the dude Lebowski in his younger days. Well, that and Rick Baker's makeup and performance as Kong. I do think I know a lot of people hate on that film. I didn't hate the movie. I was disappointed when I saw it, but that's because I saw the movie poster. And you see the movie poster. By the way, Kong in the movie poster for the 77 Kong is like the size of Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong. He's huge. He's standing on top of the World Trade Centers with 1 foot on one building and 1 foot on the other, holding a jet plane in one hand and the girl in the other. That never happens in the movie. And he does climb the World Trade Center, but Kong is tiny in comparison to what you see in that poster. So he has to jump from one of the towers to the other, and that was a stretch for him to make that jump. So, that really disappointed me, because when I saw that poster, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome, and then that never happened. Sounds like DS9, except DS9 didn't follow the ships very much. They had the Defiant, which they used a little bit in later seasons. But I'm talking about like you have several starships, and it's not a independent alien base; it's an actual star base. And you follow the ships that are assigned to that base on their various missions. Alexander says, an early 80s Harryhausen stop-motion Kong would have been awesome. I'm not a big fan of Ray Harryhausen. I know that's sacrilege to say. I like some of his stuff, but I honestly, I'm not a big fan of stop-motion animation. I find the only time stop-motion really worked for me was Empire Strikes Back. Found something exciting today when I was browsing the net. Today at Walmart, sending it to you. Tell me what you think. Well, I'll check it out when I get a chance. And Mercer says, there's a horror comedy film called House with William Catt. I like that. Catt also did a movie with some Trek stars called Man from Earth. The only thing I remember William Catt from was The Greatest American Hero. YouTube is fair and balanced site for, after all, Bird of Prey still has YouTube Premium. Of course, that's true. Yeah, Bird of Prey 5 supporting YouTube because he loves Google. Darren says, I used to have 77 Kong poster in my bedroom when I was growing up, so I know what you mean. I also like that Dawn Jessica Lange was a porn actress. I thought that was funny, and I think, I think both her and Lebowski did a good job in the film. I think that the overall Kong was a convincing effect, but when they showed the life-size animatronic, it was kind of horrible looking. It was so obvious that we weren't looking at a living thing. But that movie poster had me sold on the movie, and then I saw it, and I was like, what is this? Have you heard of the 90s band called Hanson? Bop, 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 boop, yeah. They were good. They disappeared in an episode of Family Guy. Hanson stopped at the Griffin house in Peter Griffin. That's horrible. I had anxiety all day. This stream is really helping. Well, Mercer, I'm sorry you had anxiety, but I'm glad you're feeling a little better now. In Homeport Star Trek series, you would want an existing space station, K7, Regular 1, or big mushroom stations, or something new. That's an interesting question. I would probably do just if we really want to have some fun with it, let's do it at K7. Because we know K7 is near the Klingon border, so that can create some tension. We can have pretty much, it's got an interesting design, and I'd love to see an updated version of it. And it has those 3 pylons there, and so we could have like 3 starships, one that's docked at each pylon if they're all there. So I think K7 would be that would be the show right there, Star Trek K7. Alex says, look up Last Dinosaur. The film's Suitmation T-Rex is how the meat eater would have looked in a 1970s Kong movie. I'm trying to remember if I've seen that one. It sounds vaguely familiar. Merce says, I love how the 70s Kong, he climbs the Twin Towers. It's because it resembles his home. I kind of like that touch to it because I remember when Lebowski looked at the Twin Towers and then the camera faded to the landmark on Skull Island, and he was like, oh, crap, that's where he's going. I thought that was good. Darren says, oh, no, was Renee in that? I didn't remember that. I did not remember seeing Renee in the 77 Kong. I haven't watched it in a long time. Handsome Man stopped Peter Griffin's house, asked him to help because the bus broke down. Peter Griffin got scared and said, holy crap, holy crap. And it's the children of the corn and shot them. Wow, that's Family Guy. There's an idea. I also had different ships with more or less capabilities. Each has to treat threats differently. Well, yeah, and you make them different classes of ships to keep it interesting. But the nice thing is that, and you can set it in whatever era. I still think the TMP era is the ultimate time to do it, because that time just hasn't been exploited enough. But you set it in the TMP era, so you could have like a Connie, and you could do the 3 ships that we saw in common use in the TMP era. So we could do a Connie, a Miranda, and an Oberth. And so if the Oberth is out there and gets into some military trouble, they're going to be hurting, right? So I think that would be awesome. And maybe invent a new class if you don't want an Oberth. I know a lot of people like to hate on the Oberth. But maybe they could finally explain how is there a turbo lift in those pylons. Let's see. I think it'd be funny to show a Galaxy-class ship towing K7 into its place in the first episode. The ship being bigger than the station. Yeah, that would be funny. Says it's jarring to see Renee out of makeup. Well, only if you never watched Benson, I guess. My favorite live-action Zod is still Christopher Reeve one. How can you beat that great line, kneel before Zod? I did, but you know what? I gotta say, you should see, if you haven't seen it, check out the Donner cut. It's a totally different movie, and it's much more serious. A Kurtzman K7 would be bigger than a Dyson sphere, or at least on the inside. Well, we've already seen that. Remember the Yorktown? I really dig what we're calling Jeff Bridges and Kong Lebowski. Look at the Lebowski being a sequel to Kong. Yes. That would be great. And Merch says, I had a dream last night. I was in the Tenet universe. Many of the objects I have in my office were actually inverted and traveling backwards through time. Well, I haven't seen Tenet, but I understand there's like the weird thing with some people going forward and some people going backward in time. Darth says, in Lord of the Rings, Legolas said 3 words to Frodo at the end, and he said everyone's names but Legolas, as he forgot his name. Behind the scenes detail. They thought it was funny, so kept it. I don't remember that, but I haven't watched Lord of the Rings in a couple of years.
Robert Green $10.
Oh, Robert!
Did you hear about Gina Carano going over to the Daily Wire to shoot movies, and how Ben Shapiro starting a anti-cancel movement ? It sounds good. What he talking about?
I have heard about that. I talked about it a little bit the other day. I'll be honest with you. I don't think that on the one hand, I'm not saying that what they're doing is bad or evil or anything like that, but I don't think it's the answer. Because the problem is that there's too much politics in Hollywood already, and so simply adding more politics to Hollywood is not going to fix the problem. Ben Shapiro having a conservative movie house is not going to make the liberal movie houses less liberal. And I think that we just need to get politics out of film, and unfortunately, we're just going to escalate it with this. However, thank you, Robert. I truly appreciate it. And, but yeah, we'll see what happens. And I wish Gina Carano went well. I love her, and I wish that she was still on The Mandalorian. I know that there's still some doubt as to whether she was fired or just not renewed or whatever. I ain't worried about it because it's the way Hollywood is. So, but I hope Mandalorian Season 3 is awesome. I'm loving WandaVision. I know some people have decided to, boycott Disney. If that's what you want to do, more power to you. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, where was I? Dear editor, which version of Skull Island do you prefer? 33, 70s Jackson, or Monsterverse? Honestly, I would say probably the Jackson. The 33 one wasn't bad, but I think the Peter Jackson one was the best. In fact, the Peter Jackson Kong movie I really dug. And I think that it felt like even though it's funny because only Peter Jackson can take a 90-minute movie and turn it into a 3-hour epic, right? But I did like his movie a lot. Daniel says, I like your journey through Star Trek videos. Where I like your video when you talk about the menagerie and the way you ended it was funny. Oh, wait, there's some good stuff coming, I promise. I bet you have K7 with huge TNG edition added to the bottom, having a bit more up to date. Just put a TNG saucer on the bottom. And let's see. Hello, Michael. All happy Valentine's Day. Hey, Donnie. Hope everyone's doing great. Tomorrow makes President's Day in the United States and Family Day in Canada. Yes, indeed. And for President's Day, I am working overtime. I always thought about a fleet base with like 100 ship docking ports. You see like one as a DS9 style station, the next version as a fleet of Federation fleet. I don't want anything that big, Darth. I think that's the problem with Trek is that I think that when we start having hundreds of ships, it just looks horrible. And look, Sacrifice of Angels was great as a one-time event, but look at Discovery. It's like, oh, how do we up it? Let's have 5,000 shuttles. No. Have you seen Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla? It came out in 94. It was awesome. Then I saw Godzilla vs. Destroyer, and it was a sequel that came out in 95. And then that was when Godzilla died. Yes, I've seen all the Godzilla movies, Daniel, and I love Godzilla. It's silly and campy. And I'm going to make Life with Matthew watch some of the worst of them. In Star Trek, why is it not Discovery whenever they show a turbolift shaft, it's always vertical and not horizontal? Probably just budgetary reasons because they don't want to build two models. Because usually those are, and a lot of them, they're mostly practical. And, the closest thing you see, because in the original series, you never really see the shaft. You only see the lights going by, and you do see the lights going both vertical and horizontal. Do you also think Gina Carano would make a good Klingon? Oh, sure. She'd make a great Klingon. Robert says, didn't think about it that way. Good point. And, yeah, it's not, don't get me wrong. I don't think Ben Shapiro is an evil guy or anything like that. I'm more conservative than liberal, but I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. And so I can say that I don't think that two wrongs make a right. I don't think that simply throwing a conservative movie house out there is going to fix anything. And I've heard people say that what's it called? Like run. It's I can't remember. It's like Run, Stand, Fight, something like that. The first movie they made. People have said it's good. It's about an active shooter at a high school, which not really something I'm excited about seeing. I might watch it one of these days, but I'm too much into sci-fi and action films. I know it's billed as kind of an action film, but it looks very, very predictable. I mean, oh, look, the girl just happens to be a proficient shooter because she hunts with her dad, and now there's an active shooter in her school. I wonder what she's going to do, you know? And so, let's see. During the Dominion War, Cisco had temporary office at one of those regular one style stations. All the fleet ships basically hovered around it. Yeah, but I like the idea of actually having the ships docked, you know? Even though I get it, like they even did that in the original series where the Enterprise was orbiting K7. Yes, that's the picture, all right. I remember that so well. Kong crushing that jet plane in one hand, holding Jessica Lange in the other, and of course, here I'll bring it up for you guys to see for a second here. Hopefully you can see it because I can't see OBS right now because let me see. Yeah, it looks like it's up. So look at the scale there with Kong having 1 foot on Tower 1 and 1 foot on Tower 2. Then when you realize that in the movie, Kong is about the size of one of his feet in this image. So that's just, you know, wrong, in my humble opinion. And let's see. Mert says, J. Lee Lamar tweeted today saying Orville Season 3 will be awesome. A lot of people say that, and, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. You know, I was on PJ Orville Nation's channel when he had one of the visual effects supervisors there and for Orville Season 3, and he was saying, he's like, man, you guys are going to be so blown away when you see what we're doing. So I cannot wait. Mercer says, I'm taking the plunge into video. I love your feedback on videos when I'm ready. Absolutely, Mercer. You can send them to me, and I can't promise you, if you put in a 45-minute video, it might be a while, but if you put in a little 1-2 minute video and you want to ask for, like, how am I doing with cutting and editing and stuff, absolutely, I'll give you some feedback. Dan says, Trigger, thank God I just remembered what I wanted to ask. I remember the old Fantastic Four movies, 2004, 2007. Back in the day, people were wondering, and now I'm waiting for part 2 on that. While I'm waiting for part 2, is Resolve more intuitive than Adobe? No. They both have a steep learning curve, but Resolve can do more than Premiere can. Resolve is like Premiere, and I'm trying to remember what the audio one is, but Resolve is like a complete package. It's your compositor, your editor, your color corrector, all in one package, and it's really, really powerful. And Darren says, I missed movie. I like the post. It's a well done poster. It's just misleading. That's my problem with it. And there's the alarm. Which I set the alarm so that I wouldn't be late for hanging out with Mrs. Anstricker. So I'm just going to read a couple more chats and then wrap it up. The Skull Crawler's profile reminds me of Gorosaurus. Interestingly, the latter's first appearance was in King Kong Escapes, so homage. Could be. They invented the elevator that can move both horizontally and vertically. I did not know that. Why do you have a Catholic cross? It looks like a cross from an altar in Mass, the older ones. Why do I have a Catholic cross? I don't have... What are you talking about? I don't have a Catholic cross. Are you talking about that? That's not a Catholic cross. That's not... it's a Celtic cross, but it's not a Catholic cross. Because Catholic is really... They use crucifixes, where they actually have Jesus on the cross with most of their iconic... That's a little Celtic cross. I picked that up years and years and years ago. I happen to really like it.
$2 right in the middle of something, Ray.
I'm right in the middle of something, Ray. Yes, indeed. But yeah, that thing is actually about this big. It's fairly sizable, and it's metal. So I think it's actually cast iron, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's pretty hefty. And Celtic, yes. Well, I am Celtic by descent. I'm Scotch-Irish. So on my mom's side, my mom's family is entirely Irish with a little bit of Scot. My dad's family is about half Scot, and then about a quarter Irish, quarter Welsh. And so basically 90% Scotch-Irish. Well, whatever the percents work out to be. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I want to say thank you. Especially, you guys really went above and beyond as far as the Super Chats tonight, and I truly, truly appreciate it because it does make a huge difference in our lives. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I hope that you guys have a great week. Tomorrow night will be the virtual pub on Life with Matthew's channel. Don't miss it. I'm going to try to do a live stream on Tuesday night. I know I've been slacking on that. And then Thursday night, I'm going to have PJ on. We're going to talk about Orville and stuff. Friday night might not be able to stream on Friday night. I just remembered because we got a big event for our church. I might do a Friday morning stream, actually. So we'll see what I can do there. So thank you all for being my friends. I truly, truly appreciate it. And so now I don't really have a closing theme song. So I'm going to do Darren's favorite thing in the whole world and get you some wonderful improvised music, I guess. And there goes the phone. That's probably Mrs. Centric wondering where I'm at. So let me go to, here we go. And here comes the song about leaving the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show, cause Mrs. Antrecker's better than you guys. And here comes the song about leaving the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show, cause Mrs. Antrecker's better than you guys. And here comes the song about gotta leave the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show. Ba-da boop, gotta leave the show. Cause gotta leave the show. Cause Tracker's better than you guys. And here comes the song. Gotta leave the show. Gotta leave the show. Gotta leave the show. Gotta leave the show.